What up, players? So you actually have more control over your quality of life than you think you do, okay? So a lot of us, myself included, feel like we're kind of like at the effect, right? Where it's kind of like, hey, you know, we feel how we feel, we kind of like get what we get, and like if life is kind of shit, then like life is kind of shit, okay? So what I want to invite you to today is that you actually have more control over your quality of life than you think you do. And I'm not saying that there aren't things that are outside of our control. Clearly that's the case. But you actually have more control over your quality of life than you think you do. Okay? So let me start by saying it's going to depend on what you focus on. That's like one large part of it is, where is most of your attention going? The more you're focused on shit that like doesn't feel good, guess what? The shittier you're gonna feel. The more you're focused on appreciation, the more you're focused on gratitude, the more you're focused on like what you do have, the more you're focused on like what you're thankful for, lo and behold, the better you'll feel, okay? The other thing is like even what I'm doing right now, which is like doing a live walk and talk, is you know, like exercising your proactive will, you know what I mean? Like getting out and like putting on the energy and like exerting your will like on the world. Like it feels good when you do that, okay? The other thing is like getting right with yourself. Like a lot of your quality of life is going to come down to how well you treat yourself, how well you treat others, and kind of like how well you treat the world. Like the fact that you kind of like are like more connected and like operating from a space of like wanting to do right by other people and like wanting to do right by yourself, like lo and behold, you can have a beautiful life. Like if you're focused kind of like less on yourself and more on other people and like trying to do right by other people and trying to do right by yourself and trying to do right by the world, guess what? Like heaven, baby, you know? This was an insight that came to me yesterday, which is like, for most men, well, let me put it this way, heaven versus hell, right? So like, if you focus on relationships with women and you focus on it as a place to get, like to get, hell. If you focus on it as a place to give, heaven. So like, when you're approaching the world, if you're like approaching it from a place of like, how do I get and how do I take, it's not gonna feel good, man. Like, life isn't gonna feel good. It's not gonna be that enjoyable. If, however, you're focused more on like, okay, how can I give? Like, viewing the world more as a place to give than to get. If you're viewing it mainly as a place to get, you're in hell. If you're viewing it mainly as a place to give, you're in heaven. Now, I'm not talking about the thing that some people do, which is like give, and pour from an empty cup and never receive. I am not a fan of that. I'm not saying that, okay? I am saying that if you are approaching the world more mainly as a place to give instead of mainly as a place to get, your quality of life will go up, okay? And like just that simple distinction of like, am I approaching the world and am I approaching relationships as a place to get, or am I approaching the world and am I approaching relationships mainly as a place to give? And again, caveat being, I am not saying to not receive. And I'm not saying to not get at all in this world. That would be out of balance too. But people that are mainly focused on getting, mainly focused in relationships and in the world on getting, are fucking miserable. And people that are mainly focused on giving, mainly focused on giving in their relationships, mainly focused on giving in the world, heaven. So you have a lot of control over the quality of your life, okay? So by focusing on what you do have, by focusing on appreciating the fact that you're alive, the fact that you're healthy, by focusing mainly on giving, by focusing in your relationships and in your interactions with the world mainly on giving, you can have a beautiful life. Now, I am not saying that there isn't hard shit in life. And I'm not saying that there isn't upsetting shit in life, because clearly that's the case, and we both know that to be true, okay? So I'm not saying that there aren't going to be hard things, okay? Now, there's a saying, which is, there's no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole. So the other part of having a really beautiful and rich life is like, you kind of got to connect here, homie. Like, when shit is really going sideways and you are really struggling, there's no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole, and that's connecting with the big guy or the big gal or whatever the hell you want to call it, and like sourcing your main connection there, and that being your main connection. Now, when you do that, that doesn't mean that there won't be pain, okay? Like, I'm not going to bullshit you and be like, well, if you just like connect here, then like there won't be pain. That's bullshit. There's still going to be pain. It's completely unavoidable, okay? And by connecting here, you don't remove the pain. You just have an opportunity to like process and transmute it, okay? So to go back to the original point, which is like, you have more control over your quality of life than you think you do. If you're approaching the world mainly as a place to give, if when you're in pain, you're like connecting here, if you are mainly focused on the things that you do have and the things that you appreciate and the things that you have gratitude for, you can have a beautiful life. Like, it can be really, really nice. Again, not saying that there aren't hard parts of it, not saying that there aren't painful parts of it, but mainly saying like, you talk to people and you can tell that they feel like their life sucks. And when you look at those people, it's like, okay, are they mainly focused on giving? Are they mainly focused on what they do have and have appreciation? Do they have a connection here for when they're in pain? And, you know, caveat here, I know there are some people that have like really deep trauma that have been through terrible things. And so like, you know, that's not really for me to speak on. Like, I'm not, you know, if someone's got, you know, really bad PTSD or really bad trauma, it's like, okay, man, well, you know, this whole talk might be out the window, right? Like, just real talk. Like, I'm not trained on that, right? But I'm saying that when I look at my own life, the times I've been most miserable are the times where I was mainly focused on getting, mainly focused on what I don't have, and not a good connection here, okay? So like, you have a tremendous amount of control over your quality of life. Like, if you are focused on giving and giving to the world, if you are focused on being thankful and like really tapping into being thankful for what you do have, and if you're focused here, like when you're in pain, and having that be like your main source and your main connection, you have a tremendous amount of control over the quality of your life. You're no longer like at the effect where it's just like, oh, I'm just fucked. You know what I mean? Like, because that sucks, man. So like, I don't want that. I'm sure you don't want that. If you're watching this video, you don't want that. So the purpose of this is to like ground into you the fact that like you have a tremendous amount of control over your quality of life. Like, it comes down to what you focus on. It comes down to you mainly focusing on giving. It comes down to you having a connection here. Like, I'm not saying that it gets rid of hard work. I'm not saying that it gets rid of pain, but like, it's important to remind yourself that like, you have a lot of control over your quality of life. Like, it doesn't have to just suck and you're basically like a victim and like everything just like fucking blows and you're like, oh, I'm at the effect. The last thing I would add in here is what I'm doing right now, which is like exerting your proactive will, man. Like, that's really important, dude. Like, it's really important to like spin up the energy and like go after the things that you want. Like, it will feel good in your system. So like, even me doing kind of like this really basic walk and talk, like part of the reason that I do these is like really to coach myself too, man. Like, it's not just for y'all. Like, I want to show up for you guys too. And that's the other thing. Like, the other version of hell that I see is like when you're just focused on you. You're just focused on you. That's also another trap where like it doesn't feel good. I'm not saying you can't focus on you at all. What I'm saying is like the dichotomy here is like just focused on self versus self and others. Like wanting better for self and others. And the other version of hell that I see is when people are just focused on themselves. Like, it's just focused on them. It's just focused on what they want. Me, 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 me. It's the fucking me show. And like, that's hell, man. Like, it feels like shit, okay? So I would even tell you, like, if you're looking at your own life and you're feeling like shit, ask yourself, am I focused on self or am I focused on others? And pretty much every single time it'll be focused on self, okay? So then you switch the focus to the big guy up here, connect there, ground there. I don't really know what that is. I'm not gonna pretend that I know what that is. I'm not here to preach about it. I'm just saying it works, right? So the other distinction here is like self versus self and others. And I see that for me too. Like, when I'm just focused on me and I'm just focused on what I want, it feels like shit, man. Like, it does not feel good. Now, when I focus on myself and others, like what I'm doing in this video, where it's like, yeah, like I'm coaching me in this video too. I'm a nerd. I like watch myself back and listen to it because I need the coaching, right? Like, shit. So when I'm focused on self and others, like, it feels good, you know? If I'm just focused on me, it doesn't. It feels like shit. So that's the other thing where like people be like, oh, my life, like, it's like your quality of life is you have a tremendous amount of control over it by like focusing on the things that you're thankful for, by spinning up your own proactive will, by viewing the world mainly as a place to give instead of as a place to get. And then like when you're in pain, connecting with the big guy upstairs. So I'm gonna put my email address below this video. Like, if you wanna chat, hit me up. Love to talk to you about kind of like what's going on at your end, what's going on in your life. If it makes sense, we can do some coaching. There's a tremendous amount of different techniques that I use for myself and that I use for other people, depending on what is showing up in that person's life. So that is this morning's video. This is my second walk and talk. Very exciting. Key points: you have more control over your quality of life than you think you do. Focus mainly on your connection here. View the world and relationships mainly as a place to give. All right, Todd out. Love you guys.